Welcome to Score Your Game at Nordic Game. I think this is the third year for this panel. Yeah. And I'm really honored to be moderating this today. But I will actually leave to you directly to explain what this is and the vision for all the years.
Cool. Hi. Morning. This light is way too bright for our hangover. Oh yeah. Awesome. All right. Right. So we're doing this panel at Nordic and a few other conferences where the idea is we take leading composers from the industry and we take a game, usually an indie game or a game in development or something pretty early, and we all compose different versions for the same video. So we have always awesome versions, but they're different from each other, and then we talk about the differences and why someone decided to do this or that, and we see how different music and sound can influence, you know, the feeling of the game. I feel like a badass. Yeah, I should talk in a lower voice. So yeah, that's the panel.
Yes, and since you have the mic, maybe tell me a little bit more about you specifically as a composer.
So I'm Arnold. I have been composing for games for the past 8 years or so. And a few years ago I started my own company that is doing music-based story-driven games, now working of Bird and Cage with this guy also, who's doing some recordings. And yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and next to you we have Rob, and would you like to present yourself?
Good morning, afternoon. Yeah, my name is Rob. I'm actually the bass player of a band called Epica. So today I kind of lost my composer's virginity if it comes to games. I never composed for a game before. I normally compose for my own band, obviously, but also for other bands. I'm more into like the band session work, so this is completely new for me. Thanks for having me here, by the way. So this is pretty exciting for me.
Great. And Thor?
Yeah, I'm Thor. Hi. Not late this time. That happens. Yeah, it did. Well, I'm since 9 years freelancing in different industries, since about 5, 6, I don't know anymore years. Video games, composing, sound design, voice acting. Yeah, and yeah, I just write music, that's what I do, and get shit-faced sometimes.
Right. Ari.
Hello. I actually don't have a hangover this time, so who needs these? Nice. So nice. So I've been working in game industry professionally since 2003. Started at Frozen Byte game company, and then I formed my own company, AriTunes, in 10 years ago. So I've had my own company doing music and audio for 10 years. God damn. I'm just finalizing Trine 4, and it's gonna be epic. All right.
Great.
Let's roll.
My name is Kristoffer. I'm also a bass player in a progressive rock band. Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm that kind of composer that I always need to fix things, and often ends up be the guy fixing the things rather than composing the music. The last thing I fixed is called Elias software. It's a adaptive music engine. So I'm the product owner of that company, but I still compose, and so this is going to be really exciting. I have a real passion for game music, as I'm sure you all have. Before we look at the scene, I want to invite Hans from Porta Play up to the stage. It's your scene that we're going to compose. You can take a mic there. What kind of game is this?
Yeah, well, Brunglines is kind of a war game, but it's also kind of a game about characters and about mysteries. And the whole idea about doing a a war game not only about war, putting it in Eastern Europe, making it more mysterious, is our take on trying to do something new. But of course, as we're a little company and don't have that many funds, then we have done a very minimalistic approach to the music, almost musical ambience. We don't have money for excellent guys like you. Well, I don't know. Maybe you could hit me with a quote later. Yeah. Maybe you will surprise me, but probably not. So we're really looking forward to listen to what you have come up with, because we haven't had the chance to really experience our game with some more cool, funky, and quality music so far. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Great. We're honored to try to make the game justice. Before we listen to the music, let's just see this scene that we all got without sound. This is how it looks. While you're watching, why don't you compose in your head? See how your version would be. That's almost the most silent silence I have ever heard in a room. Really exciting. Okay. So, should we maybe start with Arnold, since it's your thing? How did you approach this?
Yeah, I was super confused what to do here because I had like this conflict of like I usually know stuff about the game in this case, but then at some point I figure out no one else does except me on those panels, so I'm also not gonna know anything. So I basically just looked at the trailer and composed it like that. I was like listening now to Hans explaining about it. I was like, oh, okay. Thing is like that we also got a voice acting for this, and the voice acting is very like the something beckons in the distance, and then there will find something quite appalling, and it's like this mystical, and it all the like the images at first are really like yellow reddish, like totally felt to me like post-apocalyptic stuff, maybe a bit of like I don't know, like, or like, you know, Middle Ages fantasy, that type of thing, Diablo feeling. So I was kind of that, and then guns appeared, and it was like, oh, we're actually in First World, like, or you know, there are soldiers and stuff. So I was kind of confused on how to approach this, because the first half seemed really different from the second. Like the atmosphere at the beginning was really not what I was like. It was really different from the end. So there are basically three parts to it: the beginning, the middle, where it's like the menu or this dialogue between them, and then the ending, where it's more actiony. So at first I went with really strong Diablo feeling, more of an oriental instruments, weird instruments, scratches, like just weird stuff. And then I tried to use those elements in the action scene, but not as obvious and, you know, like accented as they are on the first. But that would still make musical sense.
Right. Let's hear.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot sing, but they will find something else, something quite appalling.
Yes. Hostiles. Take them down. Elias, come. Eat this. Take that. He's gone. Ouch. Take that. Go down.
Right. All right. Interesting mix between sound design and medieval instruments. What do you think about that? What was what?
What do you mean?
What were you commenting on the scene with the sound design as opposed to the medieval instruments?
Yeah, I get like because the first part of the video feels like Middle Ages and stuff like that, right? So I went for like a very but it also has this dark feeling because mostly probably because of the color and because everything is empty and because of the dialogue. So the dialogue, for example, I'm not American, so maybe I'm wrong, but words like appalling, for example, kind of really felt to me like, oh, I'm gonna see zombies. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna see something really disturbing. And then at the second part, I see like normal soldiers, and that was kind of felt a bit out of place. So I tried to play with the instruments having this feeling of like on one hand doing the sound design with all the scratches and the weirder instruments I could find. On the other hand, still be able at the last part to have this, you know, like the staccato violins and stuff like that, kind of combining in it and suddenly going more Western or normal action-y, let's call it.
I also love that the first entrance of the non-instrumental things were reversed. So it was a good like presentation of it, that it felt really glued together. That's my opinion.
One feedback I do have for stuff like that is the voice acting comes right at the beginning of the, right, like you see the screen and then there is voice acting right away. I think usually it's better to give like 2-3 seconds before the voice line, just so that music can set the atmosphere, because it's like you need 2 seconds to do that. Like just let the music know where we are very generally in the atmosphere. Is it like an electronic thing? Is it like something? And then throw the dramatic voice line. And I think that would have made it a bit better at the beginning. But that's also easy to.
Well, it was great anyway. And if you have questions, we're gonna save them until you have heard every composer's contribution. So maybe we should move on with Rob. So tell us a little bit about how you thought. What's your thought about how did you want to solve it?
Yeah, for me it was pretty weird because like I said before, this is my first time actually composing for, audio video. First I didn't know what to do at all until I listened to the audio file of the voiceover, and then I heard this really dark voice. Sounds pretty dark to me, at least. I said, okay, I really want to set this real dark tone right away, because, like I said, it is a dark voice. To make it very mysterious. Keep it very simple, not too much fiddly-diddly or bird sounds or whatever. Just keep it dark, very simple. And then you have like the conversation between the soldiers. I was okay, I have to build up a little bit of tension. Maybe have a little bit of silence in it, and build up this kind of a A-team kind of a vibe, you know, with the drum rolls and stuff like that. And then I build it up. Then you have the sequence where the soldiers are all getting together, and just before they notice they see the enemies and they're going to be attacked, you'll probably notice there's a little breakdown in there. And once they start to fight, shit hits the fan. Also musically.
All right.
Yeah.
going to be really interesting.
Very subtle, I know.
Oh no, why is there? Sorry, I have to.
It's muted.
Yeah, I saw that. Unmute.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else. Something quite appalling.
Yes. Take them down.
All right. Great. I love the way that you waited with that last snare. It was great. Yeah. Any more thoughts into it? Are you the way you combine the classic snare with the synths? How did you think there? Why also two worlds?
Sorry?
Also two kind of worlds, right?
Yeah.
So you have the marching band, the more war drums.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to balance that, or what was? How did you think?
Yeah, I try to balance it, but it's a little trick that I also do with my own band, because we do a lot of our music is kind of cinematic, because we work a lot with orchestras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And especially we work a lot with intros and building up and stuff like that. So what I basically did is like, actually the snare drum you hear over there is from just like a regular drum kit, and then I combine it with a percussion session from an orchestra, and the real heavy sound you hear, like the subtones you hear, that's basically a synth drone.
Yeah.
And I really cranked that with a little bit of overdrive and stuff like that. So
Sounded
kind of
great.
combine those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounded awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Should we go with Thor?
We can, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Farmhouse
sorry,
beckons.
sorry. Like that. Okay. Take us there.
Yeah, so like when this stuff reached my email inbox, I was like, okay, I'm watching the video, like combining all the layers and hearing like the voiceover stuff, and I was like, okay, you go with that. That's the characters you build, like blah. And then I started writing just on the piano, like first ideas, and then another conference in Hamburg hit me, like a marketing conference, and it was 4 days just super crazy drinking, and then I fucked up some of my deadline shit, and then I was like, oh shit, I need to do stuff for Nordic, before Nordic, for a client and shit, and then I was like, okay, just like do it later, like the panel, and I was then coming back to it and was like, what do I wanted to do again? Where's this piece of paper where I put all the information? I was like, nah, you just keep writing, fuck it, and that's basically how it came together, and then I just kept writing.
Yeah, that
you gotta be honest, right?
Yeah, that could be a good thing.
Good
So
story.
there was no bigger plan behind it.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah. I've been away from PC for too long.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else. Something quite appalling.
Yes. Take them down.
I gotta say, you hear this gling, gling. That was just me playing shit. I could say it was seriously
I thought
just a
that was
mistake.
really good. I thought it was really good.
I just thought like, okay, just keep it in there. Like it kind of fits. It kind of makes it a little bit like mysteriously, but it was just me just hitting like the wrong notes while playing.
For me, I think there probably is, but for me it was the first time this kind of game with a piano. I thought that was a great idea.
I was actually, when I saw the trailer first, I just remember that from writing that down on the piece of paper, that I said to myself, watch The Pianist as reference. Polish movie.
Yeah.
Really good movie, by the way. You should watch that.
It's
Music and Second World War together, that's like a crazy good movie. But I had that back in mind, and then I started with piano. I always start writing with piano. And I was just like, okay, just leave the piano. It starts like totally out of something where you have a starting point. That starts in the middle of some just chord and melody action basically, and goes down and down and down till we have this break to the other scene. And it's actually a break to another scene. Like for me, it feels like, okay, there would be a cut when this would be a movie. There would be a cut, another scene coming in now. So I said, okay, I changed the music to another scene, and then like all the other stuff is hitting the scene, and then a little bit tension building up there because like the fighting starts, but in the end it's just pretty basic stuff I would do for a movie or a game like that in the end, like something like orchestra based, piano based. I first thought there's like a waves effect where you have like these old microphones that you can push over some audio files. I first thought like maybe in the mastering of that, doing that to the whole track, like it sounds like coming out of an old radio. But then I thought, no, this is going to fuck up everything, so just keep it like that.
I think you still get that feeling in the beginning. You really, with the piano, I almost heard that idea.
That credit gets to Spectrasonic.
Yeah, all right.
They just do amazing sample libraries.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Great.
Ari.
Ari.
Uh-oh. Actually, when I got the video file, I watched it and I was like, okay, I let this boil a bit in my head, and just last week before the deadlines, I'm like, okay, now I need to do it. I checked the video again. I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna do orchestral because everybody else is probably gonna do that. And I'm like, what kind of synth stuff would I use? I actually went a bit more, let's say, casual way with the music. I actually composed a different song for the events, and then I'm like, it doesn't work. It's too, campy, maybe a bit too synthwave. But then I'm like, all right. So what we have here is like, maybe I can do something with the voiceover. Maybe I can make it a bit more electronic. And now in the current format, it's like, the kind of a bit like wailing kind of voice. And I wanted to create the game. I want to make it more actiony. I wanted to make it more, more tension in it. That was my main goal. I basically skipped all the stories in it because I didn't find what's the appalling thing about it. So then I thought about how I managed to do alienation. It's then this kind of orchestral synth stuff combined, but I just skipped the orchestra altogether and made this. What else? Well, I'll tell you later.
All right.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else. Something quite appalling.
Yes.
All right. So I actually felt like dancing. It was a really good, nice groove. You also find there. How do you deal with the tempi? Are you testing a lot of different tempos to find the exact right feel of it?
What was the question, by the way?
The tempos.
Yeah. Actually, my first idea was to have a bit more tempo, but then I realized that the game is too slow for high tempo, but it needs something like this bass to make it interesting in the action, so it doesn't feel like it's it's following with the action,
Yeah.
And this kind of, how do you say, attention level a bit more higher than like it seems to be. I took the most inspiration from the action, and I thought if I would be like talking with the developer with the game, this is probably in a pretty early phase, so there could be a bit options to recreate something with the mood, maybe change some minor details to create a bit more electronic environment that supports it. But the main reason was that I probably thought that everybody's gonna do orchestral with it anyway.
All right. Great. Really great versions.
Here we have another one.
Yeah, we do. Sorry? Yeah, it's my turn. I totally feel with you when you say it was hard to write for this scene. For me, it was also the first time I saw it. What do I do here? And I thought of a lot of things, like the snares and some horns maybe and things like that. But then I thought, like you, Ari, that probably everyone else is going to do that. So I'm going to try something else. And I really like my outboard lately. I love my SID station and my MOS cards and things like that. So and my analog synths. So I thought, well, wouldn't that be cool? And also try to have everything analog, even the percussion. There are some samples here, but most of it is, and certainly all the percussion is analog. And my main idea was, since it was hard to find what to write for the actual scene, I was writing for the actual player playing the scene. I thought maybe this is very important battle. Maybe he's using his last armies for this, and it's really high tension. Well, we'll see how it sounds.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else, something quite appalling.
Right. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So there are three parts, right? We all agree on that, like the intro, the dialogues, and the ending. I think, like tension-wise, all of us did kind of something at first, then at the dialogue we dropped, and then we went up back. In your case, I feel that you decided to go up in the dialogues. Like the change in the dialogues, there's like suddenly.
You mean the visual dialogues, right?
Yeah.
Because exactly, I saw it like a preparation for the war, and then I could use the snare drums, even though it was analogs. But I saw I don't fight with the dialogue here, with a voiceover.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I would like to go like this, but then there are guns, so I had to stop with the snares.
Because it was interesting. Like when I saw this, I was like, "That's like why does it go up in this like dialogue thingy?" And but a second later, I was like, "This actually works." Like it was,
Yep,
it was cool. So I'm trying to figure out why it worked because I don't have any idea why, but it does.
Maybe it was like I was more scoring the player's mindset, I think, and maybe it works better if you. Yeah, maybe it works because of that. I don't know.
Like,
all right, we have 5 different approaches to the same scene. Do we have any questions in the audience? Do we have any composers in the audience?
raise your hands.
Yeah,
Wow.
a lot of them.
Nice. Welcome.
Someone should have one question or so, right? Okay. All right. Yeah, please.
All right. Could we play all the videos after each other in a playlist? See the differences?
Yeah, and louder. Yeah. Should we take it in the other order then, maybe? Let's do that. Can we bring the volume up a little bit?
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else, something quite appalling.
Yeah, right. Why am I so? Then we have Ari.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else, something quite appalling.
Yes.
Great. Sorry. Why have I had Mac for so long? Let's see. Thor.
Farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else, something quite appalling.
Yes.
right. Then we have Rob, right?
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else. Something quite appalling.
Yes.
Thank you. And then Arnold.
The farmhouse beckons in the distance. Will they find what they are looking for? One cannot say, but they will find something else. Something quite appalling.
Yes. Ouch! Go to hell!
All right.
Easiest question ever, man.
Which one was the easiest question?
No, the question you asked if we can
Yeah,
play it again.
yeah. We could actually because we're professionals. Yeah. All right.
Saying it's eerily quiet in the scene, which sort of, when I noticed it, it was, I think it was during your piece, Kristoffer.
Okay.
But then I realized that none of the pieces reflected that that comment, which sort of provided, or it counteracted immersion or cognitive coherence. Did you feel that it was difficult to adapt the pieces to that kind of artifact or that kind of challenge? Or did you just not see that on the screen at all when you were composing?
I have to be completely honest. I think I missed that. Is it a soldier saying it? Yeah. Sorry, I missed that.
I missed the first sentence of the question because we were without a mic. So
there was a comment from one soldier in the beginning of the action scene that said it's eerily quiet, and to me it sort of it wasn't in line with the music at that point. So I would have preferred if the comment wasn't there, but I was.
That's an awesome thing to notice.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I didn't.
Me neither.
And I read the thing. Like, I mean, I read it, and I still just didn't, put any significance into it, which maybe I should have.
Good attention to detail.
Very good. Very good.
Really. I didn't notice that either. And I completely missed that, but I was probably drunk.
Yes, this is one of the reasons why a composer and the creative director or designer who is leading position always discusses these beforehand, so there's no misconceptions going on.
Yeah. Really good question. Then, yeah.
So, do I need a mic or can you hear me?
Yeah, you're getting mic now, so.
Yeah, you all talked about the deadline and getting into a hurry and having a lot of other things on your table. It just came to my head, how many times as you're being professionally composing do you end up in the position that the deadline is very strict and you completely hate what you have been doing, but you still need to ship it? So did you end up in a situation like this at some point, or are you always proud of what you have been managed to get together? So.
I think all of us would like to answer this, right?
Yeah, it was for the whole panel. So.
Should I start?
Yeah, sure.
I have this horrible boss at my company. His name is Staffan. He always wants compositions the next day. But yeah, you're always in you have a lot of deadlines, a lot of the times. But I think actually, if you're getting really good at cutting corners as a composer, you will get a lot of cutting corners projects. So I think always strive to don't cut corners, work harder and try to move the deadline or something. That's my opinion about it. Because there's a lot of composers that are only known for working really fast and get something done. But that's not the way a composer would like to work. A composer would like to have his own voice. And yeah. Do you have any?
Of course, I don't really work in this industry yet. But same goes with, for instance, with bands, because I also deal a lot with record labels, of course, and for other bands who also work with strict deadlines. If I'm not satisfied, I'm not going to give it to you. Very simple. Just like you said, maybe we can push the deadline or whatever, or maybe sleep less. But I'll always go for the maximum of results, of course. That's basically it. I must say for this one, I was still doubting about the samples because this was just, I actually composed this in my pajamas with a laptop on my lap, sitting on the couch with a headphone on. I used all these standard plugins from Logic. First I wanted to, maybe I should use better sounds or whatever, because I obviously hear that they have a much bigger library of sounds than I do right at home. But I was like, you know what? It's all about the basics, about the idea. Let's go for it. Right?
Yeah. I agree.
I think my answer is going to be a bit different from the two previous ones. Well, there is the sentence of wait, who asked this? Yeah. So there is the sentence of you know, what's the strongest and best muse in the world? The deadline. I think with time I don't want to sound kind of narcissistic on this, but I think with time you're kind of getting good enough to know your limits, like know which deadlines you can keep and not take the jobs that you can't, and B, whatever the deadline is, do something that you're happy with. Now, happy with, and I'm, you know, super proud of this, is, I think for me that's usually the spectrum. Like I were in places where I was like, you know, it's good. Maybe it could have been better, but I've never hated anything I sent. In many cases, you have like, okay, it's not perfect. Maybe I can. It could have been improved if I had more time. I usually don't move deadlines. Like it maybe happened to me like 3 times in my career, but generally speaking, I'm like, you know, the game won't move because of the music at the end of the day. If they have a release date, that's the date.
Yeah, when it comes to deadlines, it's actually, you sometimes have stuff going on, and then you all know how it is. You're just on a conference, right? You're drinking out, you're drinking late, you're sleeping more, and you wake up and say, shit, I slept too long, I still need to do that, and then stuff like gets in your way. That happens sometimes, but that doesn't mean that you don't keep the deadline. You're just doing some night shifts. You're just like, okay, then no sleep this night. And it's not about getting stuff always perfectly done that you're like, as an artist, super satisfied, because you're not working for your vision in a deadline mostly, you're working for the vision of someone else. If it's good enough for the client that he says, I love it, I like it the way it is, and it's not the feeling that you have, okay, this is perfectly the way I wanted it, but if it's still good enough for the client, it's good enough for the client. And that's the only thing in the end that matters. It's not about your artistic vision always, it's about the client's vision actually. What we are doing, we are a service provider as composers often. And when we're doing our own stuff, I think Rob can relate to that, and Arnold also, when we're doing our own stuff, it's something else. But when we're working for someone, it's not us who needs to be like perfectly satisfied with what we do. It's the client.
The weirdest moment is when the client really likes what you did and you hate it.
Yes.
This I had a few times,
Yes.
and I never know how to react to this. It's like, I hate it. No, man, this is the best track.
Well, I really want to. Yeah, I know the time's up. Could I just hear short for?
I'm just saying, people order me to do music, and I do mostly my music in VST format. So I would like to tell all the developers and publishers that the work isn't done after my first VST final version. I need usually to have like live instrumentation and stuff like that to make it sound to the vision we envisioned when we started to design the project. Just saying, it takes time to have the live musicians and people like that to join it. It would be awesome to have those people more in games.
Yeah, that was good last words. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show.